All right, so we'll get started. This call is going to be recorded. Guys, if you don't know me, my name is Sharad. I'm the owner and founder of REsimpli. I am an active real estate investor in Northwest Indiana market. So if you guys are not familiar, it's right outside of Chicago, in Lake County, practically a suburb of Chicago. I live up in Toronto, Canada, but I do all my investing in Northwest Indiana. I do mostly fix and flip. I own some rental properties, and I also own a property management company, and then I own REsimpli. So we are going to start doing a weekly call starting this week. So please excuse me, this is our absolutely very first call. So our agenda will evolve over a period of time. This is open to anybody. This is not just for REsimpli users. So if you have anybody that might get value from it, just please feel free to send them the link. But yeah, so the goal is to just, essentially share the best practices that I am using in my business. And then we also notice some other people that are doing high volume using REsimpli, like some of the things that they're doing in their business and are consistently getting deals. But if you have any questions on, as I'm going along, please feel free to ask any questions. I'm very process driven. So if you guys have not seen my YouTube videos, I like to have flowchart, kind of just have my thoughts put on a piece of paper and just kind of work through that and see, how if then situation would work out. So that's kind of what I've done for this call, but I'll also go over, what that would look like in REsimpli. But if you guys have any questions as I'm going along, please feel free to ask, and I'll make sure I keep answering those. Cool. All right, I am going to share my screen. All right, somebody give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Cool, awesome. Thank you, Lily. Hope you're doing well. All right, guys, so this call is incoming lead sequence. When you get a new lead in REsimpli, or it could be for any other platform, but this is going to be very, REsimpli centric, kind of how, we use in our business. Oops, we're getting a bunch of new people joining in. So if you notice that, when you get a new lead, this could be for any marketing channel that you have, whether it be, direct mail, or you're getting incoming leads from cold calling, texting, PPC. So it could apply to any of those marketing channels that you have. So when you initially get an incoming lead, there's going to be two, and this is incoming call lead. So if you get a web lead, that's different, but you could apply some of this. So when you initially get an incoming lead coming into your business through phone, so there's two scenarios that could happen. Either it's a missed call, or either you answer the call. So I'm going to go into the answering call part first, and then I'll go into the missed call. So once you get an incoming, once you get a call coming in, let's say we use call porter in our business, so I'm going to use them as an example. So let's say if a call comes in and then it's answered. So let's say call porter answers the call. Then there's going to be, once the call is answered, there's going to be only two scenarios. Either the lead is going to be interested, or the lead is not going to be not interested. So if the lead is not interested, what we do is we move it to dead lead. Basically, for some reason, they're not interested in selling their property. They just want to be taken off the mailing list, or the property is sold or whatnot. There might be a bunch of different reasons for why they want to be taken off the mailing list. So what we do is we move them to dead lead, and then they move on to, they go to dead lead. It also updates that property address in list tracking, so we're not marketing to them again. And then the other part is, if you answer the call, the other scenario that could happen is the lead is interested. Now, once the lead is interested, you could have 4 different scenarios for that lead. Either the lead calls in, lead does not give you any name, they do not give you any phone, they do not give you any name, they do not give you any address. You'll always have their phone number based on the caller ID. They might just be calling in to make sure that you are a legit company, that you are who you say you are. Then the second scenario would be, they might call in and then they only give you their name. You just have their name available. And the third scenario is where they only give you the property address. They do not give you the name. So if you have property address, you can get the name also through your mailing list. And then the fourth scenario is where you have their name and also address available. Then the first thing you want to do once you have that information is, first thing is you want to qualify the lead. So you might have different qualification based on your business. If you're doing short sales, it might be different for you guys. But for me, we don't do any short sales. So we want to make sure they have at least 30% equity minimum, and then it's in an area that we want to buy. And there's a couple of other criteria that we want to meet, that it's not over, let's say, 350, 400,000 ARV in our market. We like to be under 300 ideally. So those will be criteria for us based on our qualification. Then the two things is, once you qualify the lead, then the next thing that's going to happen is either the lead is not going to be qualified. If it's not qualified, then we just move it to a dead lead and we take them off any future marketing. And if it's a qualified lead, the next thing for us would be, did we book an appointment, right? So that would be the next thing we would want to do in our pipeline, is move them from no contact made into an appointment set. We go on all the appointments, but if you don't, then this for you would be, did you make an offer on the property? If a lot of you guys are doing virtual. So if we make an appointment, then we move it to appointment set in REsimpli. So, and then after that, we go on an appointment. There's a whole different workflow for that. But if you do not book an appointment, then the question would be, are they still interested? For some reason, you qualify the qualified lead, but for some reason, they are not interested in setting an appointment right now. But the next question you would want to ask is, are they still interested in selling their property? If the answer is no, then what we do is we put them on a long-term drip campaign. This might be a drip campaign where we follow up with them just once a month, very soft touch, saying, hey, you had called us or you had texted us or whatnot, and we're just following up just to see if you're still interested, if anything has changed. So even if they say at this point, after we've initially qualified the lead, they still come in and say, when we try to book an appointment, they say they're no longer interested. Something might have changed from the time they called to the time we're trying to book an appointment. So there must have been some initial motivation where they called in, but now if they're saying not interested, something might have happened. So we do not take them off our follow-up. We will take them off any future marketing. So we're not going to send them direct mail again, but we'll still put them on a long-term drip campaign. So drip campaign for us would be where somebody from our team, our lead manager, would just call them once a month, and then we'll send them a text. If we have all the information available, we might send them a handwritten thank you note, or we might send them a direct mail through the drip campaign. So we'll do those things just to stay on their radar, because if they initially call, something might happen again. Their furnace might break down, they might have a plumbing leak or whatnot, and then they become a very good candidate for selling their property. And then so if they're still interested, if we were not able to book an appointment, they're still interested, then the next thing for us would be, okay, are they still responsive? Did they just go dark on us? That's one thing. But if they're still responsive, then what we do is we have a simple task reminder. At that point, we're not putting them a complete automated follow-up sequence where we start sending them text messages, direct mail, email, or any other thing. All we do in our business is somebody from our team is actively following up with the lead, maybe once a day or once every other day, depending on how qualified the lead was. And then based on the follow-ups, then we go back and say, okay, were we able to book an appointment? And then we just keep going down this. And if they, at some point, they become unresponsive, then we put them on MIA drip campaign. Essentially, they were interested, but then, they're MIA now. So then we'll put them on. It'll be a long-term follow-up, but it's going to be a little bit more aggressive follow-up sequence where we're following up with them. Initially we'll follow up with them every day or every other day for first 2 weeks, just to make sure we can try to get an appointment booked with them. If we do not get hold of them, then we'll move it to every other week for next month or so, and then we'll go to every month follow up with them. So any questions on this from anybody, or I can move to, if the call is not answered when we get the initial call.
Hey, Sharad,
you guys can unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, can you provide that flow chart somewhere that we could?
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys don't need to take a screenshot. I'll email this out to everyone, and we'll also put this on our Facebook group so you guys have access to it. So if you guys have any questions, put it in chat.
Thank you.
You guys can just unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay. Sorry, we have a bunch of people joining. All right, so this is the sequence when the call is initially answered. Then it goes to either they're interested, not interested. not interested, straight up dead lead. And we don't put them into dead lead until, either they're, they're not qualified, then we put them on a dead lead. Or if they're qualified lead, then we just put them on a drip campaign and we keep following up with them until, either they say, hey, take me off the mailing list, the property sold or whatnot. Otherwise, they just keep staying on the drip campaign. Gary said, any chance you could provide the drip templates you use? I'll send out a Google Sheet or a screenshot of what we use so you guys can use something similar in your business if you want that. All right, so the next step is if you have an incoming lead coming into your business and then you do not answer the call. So you're gonna have some instances where somebody will call you and then, either for some reason they call you late on a weekend or, weekends or, whatever time you might not be available. So then there's going to be two scenarios that's going to happen if it's a missed call. Either they leave a voicemail or they do not leave a voicemail. So if they do not leave a voicemail, actually, I'm going to go down the list of the one where they do leave a voicemail. So if they leave a voicemail, there's going to be two scenarios. Either they're going to be, again, interested on their voicemail saying, hey, I received your letter or postcard. I'm interested in selling my property. And then, based on that, either they're going to give you their name and address, or they're only going to provide you their name, or they're going to give you only the address, or they'll provide you both information. The same four scenarios that you have there, you will have on this case, in this, where they leave a voicemail. The next step would be you call back the seller at that point. So if you are able to contact the seller, then the next thing would be you try to qualify the lead. If you're able to qualify, if the lead is not qualified, same thing, you move it to a dead lead. It might be $100,000 house, but they owe $150,000 on it, and there's nothing, at that point you don't want to buy. Or it might be a house where they have equity, or it might just be listed on the market, and again, you don't want to buy the house. So you contact the seller, you qualify the lead. If it's not qualified, moves to dead lead. If it's a qualified lead, then you try to book an appointment with them. So when you try to book an appointment, it's the same step over here. So it gets back to the same sequence. If you're able to book an appointment, you move them to appointments set in REsimpli in the appointment set pipeline. And if you're not able to book an appointment, but they're still interested, then you check and see if they're responsive. If they are, then you follow up with them through a task reminder, which essentially reminds somebody on our team to call them and see if they're still interested in selling their property. Try to get hold of them until we book an appointment. And if they're not interested, then we put them on a long-term follow-up. So that's our sequence for, once we qualify the lead, kind of go down that pipeline. But if we're not able to get hold of the seller, which is going to be more often than not, at least in our business, where somebody would call us and then they just completely go dark on us, then we have these situational drips that come into picture. Then you have, so if you do not have their name and address available, then the drip campaign that you're sending them, it's going to be different from a drip campaign that you're going to send to somebody where you have the name and address available. The difference would be if you do not have the name and address available, first thing would be you cannot personalize. You cannot say, hey, Joe, I'm interested in buying your property at 123 Main Street, because you do not have the information. So your drip campaign might just be, hey, we received a missed call from you. We're still interested in buying the property that you might have to sell. If you're interested, please give us a call at this number. And if you have the name available, then you can use hi at first name. We missed a call from you, still looking to buy the property. If you're still interested in selling the property, again, if you have address available, then you can use the address field. And if you have name and address, then you can pretty much use everything. So this is kind of what, I put together this section here. Depending on what information you have available, if you have no name and no address, then you can, of course, call them. You can send them an SMS, and you can send them an RVM, just a pre-recorded message. That's pretty much all you can do. But if you have only their name available, you can call them. You can send them an SMS, you can RVM them, and you can also use the specific at name field. So you can say, hi, at first name, I'm interested in the property you might have to sell. Please give us a call or send us a text message at this number. And then if you have their address available, then you can call them. You can send SMS to them. You can also do direct mail. You can also RVM to them. And based on the address, we are able to get the owner's name. So if you confirm, and you can also confirm the owner's name from the property record. So you can also do at name to them that, hey, hey, Joe, I'm interested in buying your property at 122 Main Street. And if you have name and address available, then you can call them, SMS, direct mail, RVM, email them, assuming, if you get their name and address, open to giving their email address also. And then you can use the at field and also add property address for both name and property address. So this is kind of what very high level, what our drip sequence flow looks like on incoming. These are for incoming calls that are coming in from direct mail, cold calling, PPC, or we do text message marketing. So anybody that calls back, this is the sequence that they go through. Anybody has any questions on this? If not, then I can quickly show kind of what this will look like in like REsimpli, how you would set that up. Darren has a question.
This is Darren. I have a quick question. Can we remove a step out of that sequence if we wanted to?
Yeah, absolutely. You can do that. Yeah, so you can remove based on, again, like we personally do not use RVM in our business, and then we don't usually get email address until we get to the point where we're setting up an appointment. So in our follow-up, we might not be using email or RVM, but we'll definitely, if we have the address, and if it's a good property, then we'll send them a direct mail which we can set up within REsimpli. But yeah, you can definitely remove a step. So it's based on, these are just like some best practices on kind of all the things you could do. But some people might be more comfortable with just calling them, right? I mean, if you're in a market where if somebody calls you, if somebody's on a, let's say, pre-foreclosure list and they're also on a tax delinquent list, so then you have a lot more information about that lead. So instead of like sending them direct mail and that the property is going to foreclosure, let's say in a week, then you don't really want to send them direct mail. You want to call them, you want to text them. And then, at that point, you might also want to go and do some door knocking just to get, just to get in touch with that seller.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Cool.
I have a quick question about direct mail. I know you guys have a really great KPI function and accounting function, but does the direct mail within a drip, do you guys track that in regards to marketing spend? So does that create a separate account that you've now spent this much money on direct mail? Let's say I don't do a direct mail campaign, but I do a few direct mails through the drip. Does that count? Does that track that?
Yeah, you can definitely track that because you're paying for it separately. So I'm going to share my screen. This is a testing account. So some of the things are going to look different from what it looks in your account. And I'll kind of give you a quick preview of some of the things that we're working on. But yeah, you can definitely do that. So when you're going into your account and let's say you're buying direct mail credits, so let's say you spend $10. So you can when you are booking the expense in accounting, then you can book it as direct mail expense. It's not going to be for a specific campaign, but you can book it as direct mail, and then maybe you can create a campaign called follow up or something, or it could be just other campaign.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Sorry, so don't mean to sidetrack at all, but both the direct mail and the ringless voicemail, is there customizable ways of creating those campaigns, or is it just kind of right now one choice for all?
What do you mean?
Like for direct mail, for example, we've got options of postcards. We can do party invites. We've got, there's so many different types of mailers you could send out.
Okay.
Again, I'm a new user, so I'm brand new. So just wondering with the direct mail function, do we have an ability to create a campaign around the direct mail that you utilize?
Yes. So if you're doing initial prospecting direct mail, so what you can do is, you can select your records and then push them to direct mail. And then you can do, we're integrated with ballpoint marketing. You can do postcards, you can do yellow letter, business letter. This is for initial prospecting. But for the follow-up drip campaigns, once somebody becomes a lead, we have 3 different postcards that you can use from. There are 3 situational postcards. One would be where they contacted you and then they just went MIA. The other would be where, you went on an appointment and you're trying to make an offer. And the third situation is where you made an offer, but you're not able to get hold of them at that point.
Okay, that was my question. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. So this is, so when you're setting up a drip campaign in this situation, what you will do is, depending on, again, how much information you have, what we would do is we would say, let's say, no name and no address available. So then in this case, if we're going to set this up for somebody that we do not have name or address. So I might do just 1 minute. And then, so in this case, I would not want to use at first name because I don't have that information available. Even if you do, it's just going to go as blank. So if you do hi at first name, I'm interested in buying your property, you could still do that. It's just going to be hi blank, I'm interested in buying your property. So you could do that. But what we tend to do is we would do hi, this is, and then we would do at acquisition manager, for example. At acquisition manager, whoever you want to use as the name for the drip campaign. We missed a call from you. We are interested in buying a property that you might have for sale. Please give us a call or text us at this number. So you can do that. And then that's the message that will go out. Then you could do, interested. And then you can add another step where, maybe a day later, you have a task for somebody on your team to call them. So you could say for acquisition manager, call the lead and follow up. And then, you could just keep building it. And then the next would be, again, you wait another day. And then you send another text message, like maybe a different variation of it. Something like, hi, sorry, we called you and left you a voicemail yesterday. Do you have a property for sale? We buy properties for cash and then close in 7 days or less, or something like, your marketing message that you might want to send out. So you can keep building it out. And then once you have like something like this, where you have no name, no address, what I would do is I would just copy this and make another variation of this. And then I would call this no name, actually, or let's say only name available. So this would be, I would have my, default drip campaign. That based on that, I would add hi, this is, because now I have their name available, then I would do hi first name. This is again acquisition manager, we missed your call. And then the next one would again be, I would just go in and add the name field for each of the messages for follow-ups. And then you can keep building it out. If you have their property address available, then another drip campaign, you could set a hi first name. We missed a call about your property at property street address. Are you still interested in selling? We buy properties for cash. And because you have the property information, then you can do property city. We can close in 7 days. So if this property was, let's say, and the address was 123 Main Street, Chicago, and the property owner's name was Joe. So then this would say, hi, Joe, we missed a call about your property at 123 Main Street. Are you still interested in selling? We buy properties for cash in Chicago. We can close in 7 days. You can call or text us on this number. And then you can just create this, and then you can create a different variation of it. And then there might be some other couple of scenarios where you might get a call from someone that has a landline number. Then of course you don't want to put them on a drip campaign with text message. Then I would just do a follow-up where you're essentially calling them once a month just to follow up on it. And in those cases, if somebody has a landline, I would definitely try to send them a direct mail piece also as part of your follow-up. Either you can make it part of the drip campaign. So I could go in, I could do this. I could choose another step. I could say, all right, maybe 1 week later, send them this direct mail, this postcard. And you can say either this, you can preview what this will look like. So these are 3 different postcards based on 3 different situations you might have. First name, so I'll pick up whatever the name is available for the homeowner, and then pick up the property address. And the phone number will be the phone number that the lead called in as. So this will be auto-populated, but this is what the postcard would look like. This is one situation where, you've been trying to get in touch with them, but haven't had any luck. The other would be, where they're interested. Again, you haven't heard from them. You're just letting them know that you're still interested. And then third one is about a property that you made an offer on, and then you're waiting to hear back, whether they're still interested in accepting your offer or not. So you could do this as part of a drip campaign, or you could also do this as part of your if you want to send one-off direct mail, you can just click direct mail, and just those same 3 postcards you could send as one-off if you want to do that. So definitely, if somebody that you've made an offer on a property, I would use the offer made follow-up sequence to follow up with them. If you have the name and address, I would definitely use somehow direct mail, especially if the initial point of contact for you was direct mail, and then that's how they responded. You could always call them and text them, but what we do in our business is we might have a task in our business, depending on what situation the lead is in, that we might send them a handwritten thank you note. So somebody from my team would just write, hey, thank you for your call. It was great talking to you. It might be, we went on an appointment, you made an offer, but the seller is not interested. Then we're going to send them a handwritten thank you note saying, hey, thank you for letting us come look at the house. It was nice meeting you. If you're still interested, give us a call. We would love to hear back from you and kind of what you think of our offer. Okay, cool. So any questions on this?
Yeah, I remember we had this conversation.
Yeah, a couple of.
Latin America, we did everything but
Yel has a question. Are we going to get recording of this? Yes, there will be recording once the call is sent. We'll send out a recording for this. What the next message is. So Gary has a question. Inside the lead, is there a way to see what the next message is to be sent to the lead when a drip campaign is set up? Or I had a lead that responded this morning, and I wanted to see if the next message was applicable considering the response, but I did not know how to see it without going. It's Gary, you can see the next, you cannot really see the next message that's going to be sent out. So if you put a lead on a drip, let me use this as an example. So let me test drip, and let me just do this a few days so it doesn't go out. So what you can do is once the drip is set up, you can see which steps have been completed and which steps have been pending. So this one just said 1-step drip campaign, but it doesn't tell you what message is going to be sent out. So it'll just tell you if it's going to send out a drip campaign, if it's going to send out a text message or not. But most of the time, if the lead, most of the time what happens is when you're sending out a text message, the lead is only going to respond back. In some cases, you're saying, okay. In those cases, you do not want to stop the drip campaign. You just want it, whatever sequence it was on, I would let it run. The seller is just acknowledging your message that they've received it. So if you go here, you have an option. Would you like to auto stop the drip campaign once you receive a call or SMS from a lead? We always keep it as no, because once we get a call or a text message from a lead, then we go in and see, if they say anything other than okay, then we stop the drip campaign. If, they give us any indication that they're actually interested in selling their property, that at that point we would take them off the drip campaign, and then somebody on our team would follow up with them. But if they say, if one of the text messages that we send out and they say, okay, I'll let you know, then we just keep them on the drip campaign. We do not remove them from that drip follow-up sequence. And Lily has a question. How do you know if a lead's phone number is landline or mobile before setting up into drip? So Lily, when you put any phone number, we automatically pull whether it's a landlines, mobile, VoIP, or other. So you'll see this. V would mean it's a VoIP number. And if I go into a different lead, like this says V, and this is a landline. So if it says L, it's a landline number, then at that point, we would just send that. We would not put them on a text message. You could still do that. It won't just send out the text message, but if you know for sure that this is a landline, then you might not wanna, you might just be thinking that, oh, the text message is going out, but it's actually a landline number. But yeah, this is where any number that you put in, we pull the phone type and then provide it next to the phone number. All right, let me see. Can you share what drip looks like for different campaign? Great. I'll send out in a Google sheet what drip campaigns looks like for us, and then you can use that for the situation, and a different situation that we have. And Brett has a question. After you make an offer, how often will you send the seller direct mail? If you made an offer, Brett, we'll definitely send them the direct mail. If they don't accept our offer in a day or two, we'll definitely send them a handwritten note, after 2 days. And this is not like through REsimpli. We'll actually, somebody on our team will actually write the note and say, hey, thank you so much, for letting us make an offer. We haven't heard back from you. Let us know if you're still interested. After that, we might, most of the times we're just calling and sending them text messages. But if it's a really good property that, there's a lot of equity in the property, then definitely handwritten note. And then we would also have, if we do not hear back from them, then we'll have somebody from our team and just go, basically knock on the door if they live in the neighborhood and kind of see what's going on, if they have any questions or not. A couple of other things that, if you guys are not doing, what I would suggest that, let's say if you have this property, let me go into this different one. So let's say if you have this property, the seller Donald Duck, and they have this property to sell, get as much information as you can. It might be something about, the Donald's nephew, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, they're also involved. So next time, the first thing you would want to do is before you call the seller, just click right here, just to look at all the, pinned notes that you have. These are like notes that you have flagged as important, just to make sure that if there's something that you need to know about the seller, like something as simple as it might be, let's say the seller has a dog, the dog's name is Sparky. They might say, they might mention something in their conversation that, hey, I have, I love my dog, Sparky. Then if, we go on an appointment, we'll make sure somebody from our acquisition team will just talk about the dog. Hey, how the dog is doing. We might also, take some, like cookies from a local bakery to them and say, hey, just in the neighborhood, and I was picking up some at this bakery, so I thought I'd pick something up for you. Just those small little things, whatever you can do to differentiate. So it's important, like what we do as part of our daily, lead audit is somebody from my team goes and listens to every single inbound call that comes in and make sure, we have the call recording, but it's also important, if anything, there's anything significant that was mentioned in the call, that we put it in the note. It might be like seller has a dog named Sparky, for example. So we might put this in our note, and then we might just pin the note. This way, next time, whoever goes into the lead, they know, okay, they have, the seller has a dog named Sparky. So next time, when I'm going to call Donald Duck, actually the dog's name should be Goofy, but when I call Donald Duck, I'm going to make sure I ask about the dog and how the dog is. It's those small little things that you can use to differentiate. Again, these things also pop up on the dialer. So if you're trying to call from the dialer, so before somebody from our team would call, if there's any pin note, they would definitely click on it and just make sure they quickly review any important information that somebody from our team has, pinned that note, just to make sure that, when they call the seller, if they're able to get hold of the seller, that they do not forget, or they do not ask the same information that seller has already mentioned on the call. Cool. All right. Yeah, and then a couple of other things that if you're not using this, I would highly, highly recommend is you can automate your entire drip follow-up sequence. So let's say if I have this phone number that I'm using for my lead direct mail absentee list. So what I can do is I can go into this number and I can go into drip automation, and then I can say, all right, would you like to, hold on, sorry, a couple of people joining. Would you like to auto assign a drip campaign to leads created under this marketing campaign? So essentially what I can do is I can set up any lead that comes in from direct mail absentee. I can put them on a completely automated follow-up sequence. So I don't even have to talk to the guy. I can just say, okay, if the lead is created manually, put them on this drip campaign, for example. But if a lead is created and it's an unanswered call, it's a missed call, then what I can do is I can put them on a missed call follow-up sequence. So then I can create a missed call follow-up sequence where it starts sending out text messages, for the first day when the lead comes in. It might send out a text message 2 times in the first day. And then after that, it might remind somebody on my team, hey, we had this lead come in, call them. or if the lead comes in from Zapier integration, or it comes in from Carrot website, if it comes in from web form. So you could have different follow-up sequences for different situations that you have. So if you answer a call, then you might put them on, let's say, no name and no address follow-up sequence. So I could do this. So anytime a lead comes in from specifically from direct mail absentee, and if I miss that call, I could put them on this follow-up sequence, which is called my missed call drip. So I could go ahead and say, all right, so as soon as somebody calls me on my direct mail absentee list number, what's going to happen is they're going to get this text message within a minute of the missed call. It's going to say, hey, sorry, I missed your call. I'll call you in 5 minutes from this number. So it looks like somebody actually typed the message. And then what's going to happen is I could create a message 5 minutes later for somebody on my team to say, call the lead. So then as soon as I miss a call, a message goes out to the lead saying, sorry, I missed your call. I'm going to call you in 5 minutes. And then 5 minutes later, it reminds somebody on my team to call the lead. And if they do not pick up, then it's like, hey, thanks for the call or if they answer the call, thanks for the call this afternoon, looking forward to connecting later. So you could build it out to as many steps as you want until you get hold of the seller. So the system would keep sending them text messages. It would keep reminding somebody on your team to call. So you don't even have to go in and set those drip campaigns. So once you set up a drip campaign based on different situations, you could put them on different leads that you have, different campaigns. So you might have leads that are coming in from, let's say, TV. A lot of people using REsimpli are doing TV ads. So they might have, if you get a missed call on your TV phone number, you might have a different lead drip campaign set up for specifically for your TV phone number, where you say, hey, sorry, I missed your call. You saw our ad on ABC channel. I'm going to call you in 5 minutes. It's very, very specific to that marketing channel. It's not a generic message. And then you can keep building on top of that. So once you know that the lead came in from a TV ad versus a radio ad versus a direct mail, you can handle all of those different. So you can set up as many drip campaigns as you want for different situations. So once you start getting leads coming in, whether it's through missed call, whether it's through an answered call, you can keep putting them on different follow-up sequence. So this would definitely automate big majority of the follow-ups that you have, big follow-ups that you have, depending on, again, which marketing channel you're getting calls from. So you might want to put a lead that comes in from the absentee list on a different follow-up sequence versus a lead that comes in from a probate list. So you could set up different drip sequences. And then if you get a missed call from a probate, they get put on a different drip sequence versus a versus a lead that you get in from an absentee list gets put on a completely different follow-up sequence. And then, yeah, Danos has a question. For the direct mail, if the property address is different from the mailing address, is there a way to update that? It automatically does that. So once you enter the property address, we pull the data from tax assessor, and we'll tell you, even if you just enter the property address. So if you toggle right here, if you hover right here, we'll find out the owner's name and the owner's mailing address. So if the property address is different from the mailing address, then this would show absentee. Let me see if I have another one where it says absentee. Yeah, so this one is an absentee. So if you look at the property address, it's 4133 Mississippi Street, and then the mailing address is 6271 Oregon Street in Hobart. So when the direct mail is going out, it's going out to the mailing address and not to the property address. Cool. Let me see if there was anything else. Yeah, no, those are all the points that I had. Any questions you guys have on maybe some of the things that you guys are doing in your business that are really working, or some things that are not working that, I can learn from and other people on the call can learn from?
Hi, Sharad. This is Buck. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so I'm wondering, you talked about like bulk SMS texting for marketing. Is there any platform that works well with REsimpli?
You can integrate. We have several people using launch control, and we integrate with launch control, batch SMS, and I use Smarter Contact. They don't have the best Zapier integration, but so we have a little bit of manual process. If somebody's not interested, we export the list. So what we do is, let's say if somebody's not interested in selling their property, what we would do is, let's say if I have out of 1,000 people, 200 people are not interested in selling, or wrong number. So we would export out of Smarter Contacts, and then we would import into our system. And then we would just add it as a list. Either we'll put it on opt-out, and then we'll also add it on a list to include. Again, this filter is going to look different for list stacking versus, what you have. This is an update we're working on. So it might be like, we might call it, this is Smarter Contacts upload, for example. So if I do that, it's going to show me if I have any address, it's going to show me the ones that I have opted out from my marketing. And then when we are uploading that list, there's an option of, hey, do you want to opt out this from future marketing? Then we just do yes. So when I go in, so if I go in, then in my future, any of my future marketing, then this would not be. So opted out would be yes, for example. Then it would show me, okay, this address is opted out. So when we're doing any future mailing, we'll make sure this one is not included. But the integration that we have with Launch Control and with Batch is you can just seamlessly push your lead from Launch Control or Batch into REsimpli with all the communication you've had with the lead, and then you can put them on a follow-up sequence within REsimpli, and then it can just start sending out text messages or any other follow-up sequences you might want to put them on. But it's also important, once you have a list of people that say they're not interested, that you're updating, your primary marketing list. This way you're not sending text messages or calling somebody that might not be interested, whether it might just simply be, somebody might just be from a direct mail. For example, in our next update, we're also going to show what stage the property is in. So if it's sold, so when I'm doing marketing to someone, what I would do is, one of the important things is, anytime we're pulling our leads for next mailing list, we want to make sure that it should be in leads now. So I have 4,134 total records. So if I apply this, now it's 4,115. So then I'm only marketing to these 4,115 and not anybody that's in a lead for me. So these 19 people are a lead for me. They're in different stages. Some of them are in sold, some of them are in no contact made, then refer to agent is another status we're going to add. So in this way, I'm making sure, because they've already a lead for me, I'm not marketing to them, but it's the same idea with texting. One is that if you text 1,000 people, you might get 1 or 2 lead. So you want to make sure you're pushing into REsimpli and converting it as a lead. But it's also out of those 1,000 people that if you have like 200 or 300 people that say, opt out, don't text me, or they say stop, opt out, or the property sold, that you also are updating that in list stacking. So you're not marketing to them. So if out of those 1,000 people, 200 have already opted out or their property sold. So you want to make sure you upload that list of 200 people. So next time when you're doing a direct mail, you're not sending direct mail to those 200 people that you already know have opted out. And same thing goes on the direct mail. So you send out, let's say 1,000 pieces of direct mail, 100 come back as return mail. So one thing is, like, that these 900 mails got delivered, but it's also important to know that which 100 pieces came back as return mail. So in that case, what you would want to do is, next time when you're doing marketing to them, you want to pull up a list of return mail, should be no, for example. So, or if I want to see return mail, yes, then it tells me, okay, this address is a return mail. So I tried doing direct mail to this address, but I was not able to reach by direct mail. So either I have to call them, or I have to text them, or I have to go, do door knocking for this address. So you want to make sure, once you're doing marketing, what channel you contacted them. If you contacted them through direct mail, return mail, you should call them. And then if you're not able to get hold of them through calling, you've tried direct mail, you've tried calling, then the next thing would be maybe you door knock, or figure out some other way you can skip trace and get relatives information. And then same thing also on the cold calling. If you call somebody and then the call comes back as wrong number, it's okay, you call this person, but all the numbers that you have are inactive, fax number or whatnot, then you definitely want to do direct mail to them. Those list of addresses that you have that you haven't been able to get hold of through cold calling, that you would want to do direct mail. Lily has a question. When there is more than one acquisition manager, how do you determine which follow-up task get assigned to you? So Lily automates, it automatically does that once you set up a team. So each lead can only have one acquisition manager. So if you go in, so if you have acquisition manager, if there are 2, it will only assign to 1. So when the tasks are assigned in the system, it will only be assigned to one acquisition. So if I choose acquisition manager, it will automatically get assigned to Sharad in this case, who's the acquisition manager. And then even when you're doing drip campaigns, when you set up, hey, my name is @acquisition manager, it will automatically look at who the acquisition manager is, and the text will go out with that person's name. So you won't have to go and you can use the same drip campaigns for different acquisition manager. It will automatically pick up the first name of the acquisition manager.
Does that get automatically assigned, or is that something you have to assign when the lead?
No,
the lead?
It automatically gets assigned. So once the lead is created, depending on who you have part of, so you might have, like, then you go into the team tab. So in this case, I have 2 acquisition managers for this campaign, Sharad and Tony Stark. So I could say, all right, I do not want to work on this lead source anymore. So I can take myself off, and then all the leads that are coming in will automatically get assigned to Tony Stark. So they will not get assigned to me. So right now it does on round robin. In an update that's coming out end of next month, you will be able to do either round robin or first to claim. So if there were 2 acquisition managers, it will send out an email to both the person saying, hey, there's a new lead created. Whoever logs in, claims the lead, gets that lead, or it will be manual lead assignment. If it's somebody from your team, will manually can go in and also be assign the lead to somebody. Okay, cool. Kira, does REsimpli integrate with dialer, example call tools? Yeah, I mean, I use Mojo for my business. We integrate with that. And I think we have a few people using call tools. I have Anthony on this call from our team. And Anthony, if you can shoot a message on what dialers we integrate with, then that'll be great, because you're the one who work on integration.
Yeah, we actually, we can integrate call tools, Ready Mode, Mojo, and Batch Dialer.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so those 4 seamlessly we integrate with. I use Mojo, so we're easily. So essentially any dialer that has a Zapier integration, you should be able to integrate with that dialer. I use Mojo. I know a lot of people use call tools, so we've not had any issue integrating with those. Okay. Robert has a question. Is there a multi-line dialer to dial through follow-ups and no contact? Robert, there's not a multi-line dialer, and we are not planning to roll out a multi-line dialer either. Just because, you get a lower contact rate, there's a higher chance of your number going into spam. What we are rolling out, this update should be coming out hopefully next 2 to 3 weeks. We are going to add another option in leads to filter your leads based on the task. So I could go in and see all the leads that have a task assigned to me with a past due task or a due today. So it only shows me everything that has a task assigned to me. So I can click right here. I can either go into my task and I can see what task is there, or easier way would be just click on the dialer and it shows you all the tasks that you have. So this is another update. So you can see there's a task to call the lead. That's what due on November 30th. Let's say I call, I can mark it completed. And then I can say call the lead second attempt. This was due December 1st. And then put the lead on a no contact made drip. I could do that. And then I can mark it completed. So let's say if I'm done with this, then I can go onto the next lead. And I can see all the tasks that I have. Let's say check MLS comms and drive by the property. So once this is done, essentially all my tasks for this lead are done. And then when you come in next time, you'll see you have 14 leads that are assigned to you in active pipeline. But if you come in and see any leads that have with past due or tasks with due today, then it shows you 0. So essentially, if you do that a couple of times a day, you're going to be fully caught up with your leads, and you can manage all of that simply through just clicking on the dialer button, and then it shows you all your tasks. And if there's none, if you want to set one up, you can just click right here and call the lead. And if there should be a task, and then you can say, all right, assign it to acquisition manager. It needs to be done tomorrow. And then that's it. It'll assign a task, and then you can go on to the next lead, and it'll go through your entire pipeline. So you might be in no contact made, whichever stage you might be in. So just keep going from left to right. So it'll take you to offer made. Once you go through that, so you can set up all your leads, and then just quickly go through all of that. If you need to call, you can just click call and make the call, go next, and then you can just easily do that. But multi-line dialer, we do not have, and we're not planning to roll that out either, just because of all the regulations with, with calling from multi-line dialer. Jasmine has a question. I'm new to REsimpli and I'm wondering, how can I separate the absentee leads from the other ones? Directly reminder is the way feature that can help me doing automatically assign. So Jasmine, it will automatically do that. So there's a couple of different ways. So if you're using list stacking, for example, if I go right here, it tells me, is this part of any other list for me? If it's part of, let's say, my absentee list, I'll pop up right here. Let me see if I have an address that is part of a different list. But if you're using list stacking, what it will do is based on the property address and mailing address, it will tell you whether the owner is an absentee owner or homeowner or unknown. So absentee means where the property address is different from the mailing address, then it's an absentee owner. If the property address and the mailing address is the same, then it'll be homeowner. And if the mailing address is not available, then it'll just say a mailing address is unknown. If you go into the leads, and then as you start adding this property to multiple different lists, then it's going to get updated right here. Let me see an example of, yeah. So if you look at this one, for example, I have 4133 Mississippi Street, Unit 12. So it tells me that this is, anytime you add a property into leads, we add it in list stacking and we call it, make it part of the list called REsimpli lead. But then this also tells me this is in my probate list and my tax list. So it's automatically pulling that information from list stacking. So now that you have that information, when you're calling the seller, you know that they are on two different lists. They're on probate list and they're also on tax delinquent list. So that gives you a lot more information before you call that homeowner versus, if you did not have that information. And in this case, we also pull the data from property records. This is like a made up address. So that's why we don't have any information. But if I go into one, so yeah, this is an actual address, 4133 Mississippi Street. Once you put the property address, we are going to check the tax records to see if that's an absentee owner or that's a homeowner. So again, if you look, the owner's mailing address is different from the property address. So that's an absentee owner. But if the information were the same, then this would say a homeowner, which I think it does in this property. Yeah, so something like this. And if the information is not available, it'll just say unknown.
Great, thank you, Sharad. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. No worries.
Thank you.
And Kwame has a question. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. Can we make calls directly from REsimpli app? Yeah, you definitely can. You can either from iOS or Android app. You can call, text, RVM. You can even do direct mail and email from the app. Ray has a question. Are you able to update the phone system and recently call the leads on its own one-on-one to increase productivity? Also, can you have a feature when you can put call 2 times in a row, same lead when they move to the next lead? Right now, the way the dialer is built is I can, pop this lead, I can click call, make the call, and then, whatever information I have, I can click on next lead, and it'll take me through my leads that I have in the pipeline. But if you're saying, if you're going to have an auto dialer built in, then we're not going to do that, especially with the leads phone number. They get flagged as spam pretty easily. So we don't want to do that with the leads phone number that a lot of people have invested money in through direct mail or other marketing channels.
Sharad.
Yep. Hey, Brett.
Is there a way to check to see if any of our numbers have been flagged?
Yeah, I posted something on our Facebook group. If you just go to our Facebook group and search for like spam, it should come up. There is a website. Let me see if I can quickly find out spam. Spamcalls.net. So if you put in your phone number, I think you need to put in the country code. Let me see if it's 19786 for this support number. So if I do this, it tells me like spam risk low. So I would just check your numbers like, once a week or once a month, just run through this, especially if you notice that your calls are not getting answered. It would happen with your cold calling number that if you buy a cold calling number through REsimpli and using it as a caller ID, it's going to happen, especially if you use a triple line dialer or an auto dialer. So this is where the issue comes in, where you got to be careful if you are, if you have a direct mail number, then you might want to be a little bit careful with using that, for auto dialing versus a cold calling number that you are specifically using for auto dialing. But yeah, spamcalls.net is the one where it will identify spam calls for you. Okay. All right. Any other questions or any feedback, guys, on what we can do to improve this call moving forward? Like what we can do to just make sure we're adding more value to what you guys are doing. Definitely let us know. We're always open to feedback. I'm sure the agenda of the call will evolve over a period of time. As we go do these calls just to see what's working, what's not working. Yeah, thank you, Tara. Tara says, I absolutely love it so far. Yeah, thank you. So we'll make sure, we come up with other calls and kind of some of the best practices that we're noticing. And I will send out the flowchart that we have. This one, I'll email it out to everyone, and we'll also put it on our Facebook group with the link where you can download and have, this copy of this. Yeah. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for being on the call. I appreciate it. And then we'll do a weekly call. Again, next call should be on next Tuesday, same time, and we'll send out an email reminder for it. Yeah, if you guys have any questions or whatnot, definitely let me know. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.